now the latest on July 30th around the wide world of tropics. Here's your tropical weather bulletin. 2 tropical storms are active, both in the eastern Pacific, Erick and Flossie. There are 38 storms so far in 2019 on this 30th day of July. Other storms could be arriving in the not too distant future. Looking at the Atlantic, Invest 95L is not far from Puerto Rico on day 60 of hurricane season here. It's likely to move towards the northwest with a wave behind it that could develop later on. Day 77 in the eastern Pacific shows Erick and Flossie both still tropical storms, but Erick could be on the verge of reaching hurricane status. Invest 92 and 93W are both located in the western Pacific and both have a fair chance of developing. No systems are active in the southern hemisphere at this time. So the main feature at the moment is still Tropical Storm Erick with winds of 70 miles per hour and a pressure we estimate at 984 millibars, just about to enter the central Pacific region, 1155 miles from the big island of Hawaii at 12.8 north, 139 degrees west. So, of course, with Erick, we expect it to become a hurricane very soon as we enter Monday and then intensify further. We're still just about on board with Category 3, which is what the National Hurricane Center have been saying that Erick will manage, and it will move to the south of the Hawaiian Islands in all likelihood, with a small chance of tropical storm conditions. Here's Flossie, winds of 50 miles an hour and a pressure of 1,000 millibars further east than Erick. And it will follow a similar path to the storm, 446 miles from Isla Clarion, Mexico, 12.1 north, 116.6 degrees west. So this will also move towards the west-northwest during the early days of this week, becoming a hurricane and strengthening further as well, and there is possibly decent room for Flossie to become another major hurricane in the eastern Pacific, even though we've not yet put it on our forecast. But there it is, entering the central region. That could also be a threat to Hawaii. Invest 92W has winds of 30 miles per hour and a pressure of 1,000 millibars, located in the South China Sea. It's currently 354 miles from Macau, 17.1 north, 114.9 degrees east. This system's expected to move towards the northwest as we continue through the week here and become a tropical storm not too far from now, and will probably make landfall in Hainan as a tropical storm and then move on to northern Vietnam. Pretty straightforward track there. There is a small possibility it could strengthen further, some models have been suggesting. Slow mover though, could deliver a lot of rain. This is what Erick looks like in terms of wind shear. The green areas there showing low amounts of wind shear, still favourable for development, and you can also see its structure in those latest visible frames. But wind shear there slowly increasing for Erick, getting just above 10 knots. If that does continue, then Erick has probably got about 24 to 48 hours of intensification time. It will probably have a little bit longer in truth though. Invest 95L is clearly pictured here in the Atlantic just south of Puerto Rico. Its energy and influence will extend through to Hispaniola and then on to the Bahamas. Look east though, near the Cape Verde Islands off the coast of Africa, there is a new African wave that's just entered the eastern Atlantic, and we'll be watching that one for development. Some of the models are developing that into a tropical cyclone near the Lesser Antilles. In the eastern Pacific, Erick and Flossie are clearly delineated here. Not much else going on in the eastern Pacific right now, but I think this is quite enough. And you can see how they are positioned in relation to each other, not a huge distance between the two. And you can quite clearly see just how Erick will end up missing Hawaii. It's already, by the looks of things, too far south unless it does take a sharp turn north, which we're not anticipating. Invest 93W is located in the eastern part of the western Pacific. You can see it there, quite broad. It's likely to develop into a tropical cyclone eventually. And 92W still not looking that great really when you look on satellite imagery, but some models are expecting it to become a tropical storm within 24 hours. In the Australia and South Pacific region, it's fairly quiet at this point, just a few flare-ups near Samoa and not too far from the Solomon Islands and Vanuatu. In the Indian Ocean, things also looking rather quiet here. Again, a few flare-ups over India and Pakistan, but really nothing much to report here at all. Sea surface temperatures across the globe right now. For Erick, they're staying pretty warm, around 28 degrees Celsius. Its early relocation towards the south when it was developing has done wonders for its future, really. It's made quite a bit of difference. In the Atlantic, temperatures warming, especially in the Gulf of Mexico, over the Bahamas, over Cuba, up to 30 degrees plus. The Indian Ocean, around 28 to 30 degrees Celsius generally across the ocean, displaced a little bit to the east. South China Sea, very warm, 30 degrees plus for 92W, and for 93W, it's just off that, around 29 degrees Celsius. Very warm conditions for both potential cyclones. Floater imagery of Tropical Storm Erick looks like this. You can quite clearly see what might be the eye, or I think what actually is the eye, starting to develop there. So we should be looking at Hurricane Erick pretty soon, in the next few hours, perhaps at the next National Hurricane Center update, which happens 3 hours after this broadcast. Looking at Flossie, it's pictured here. It's a little bit larger than Erick. It's got a very nice convective blow up there occurring, the banding as well extending to the west there. Flossie's getting sat together pretty gradually, as they tend to do in the Eastern Pacific quite often, and I think it will continue to ramp up. 92W, as we look in a little bit closer, again a bit of a mess, but if it does start to get that circulation during the course of the day and that convection starts to become more central, and it could start at any time really, we could be looking at the next tropical cyclone of the Western Pacific. So on the naming list, in case you're getting a bit lost at this time of year, the next name on the Atlantic naming list is Chantal. In the Eastern Pacific, we're looking out for Gil, followed by Henriette. In the Central Pacific, the next name is Akoni. You can also see, oh no, we're not to there yet. The Western Pacific has Wiffa on the next name on the list, and in the North Indian Ocean, it's Hija. Now the bit I am supposed to do. You can find Force 13's outlets, the website force13.com, with the latest information, our YouTube page, so it's Force 13 all in text. Subscribe if you haven't so far, and you can find us on Facebook and Twitter and communicate with us through there as well. Search Force 13 all in text. That's all for now. Another tropical weather bulletin will follow tomorrow with intermediate updates on some of these storms. You can also help the project become even better by becoming a patron. You can see more information about all the benefits involved by visiting patreon.com/Force13. With a special thanks to these people for being our most valued patrons this month. You can also check out our growing merch store so you can show Force 13's colors wherever you go. You can also find a link to our Discord server underneath this video in the description.